tapped in. So one of the things to be considering now is that, well, for starters, the situation is 100% unnatural. And for the most part, if people aren't doing the sleeper business, then they feel isolated and alone, and they are isolated and alone, with the exception of YouTube videos or some other means of connecting. That's just how it is, unfortunately. But something to be considering at this time is, after considering the fact that it's very unnatural and people are not interacting with each other as humans have the potential for interacting. I'm not going to say there's a right way or a wrong way to interact, but as it is right now, for the most part, people are not interacting at all. So something to consider is that at some point, you will be back to a situation where you are a necessary piece of a group, a necessary part of a group, rather than this isolated individual whose daily motions are determined by routines and or numbers in a bank, numbers in a computer. Because if you consider the creative capacity of your own mind and contrast that with what you see out there, what you see the people doing, then you noticed very quickly that they aren't doing anything creative whatsoever at all. Not saying it doesn't happen, it does happen, but it's rare. So we're used to, those of us who feel the pull and the urge to live creatively and to live with other people. I know it sounds weird to say that, because you think, oh, there are other people around, but there aren't. There aren't other people around. Sleepers don't count. They don't count. I'm sorry, they don't. So again, back to the original premise, something to consider as we move forward in this situation is to consider what it would be like to live in an organic community where your daily habits are directly connected with all of the other people around you, and papers and records and contracts and titles are not dictating your every movement. Consider that. We've slipped really far. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We've slipped really, 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 really far. And it's not easy to comprehend exactly what's happened. It's just not. Mainly because of memory loss and so on. But the capacity of the human versus what level the human is actually operating at right now is that there's such a great divide. But it's not that it can't happen. It's not that there's nothing to do with the situation. There's plenty to do. But we're very far. We're very far removed from how it could and should be. So seeing that, you all who are listening, of course, this is of course more preaching to the choir, but seeing that you're co-creators in the realm, if you start thinking about how are we going to come together as co-creators and create the realm that's correct and proper for living, breathing human beings to interact in, and you start thinking about that, then the very thought process starts bringing it out for you. Adaptability of humans is actually quite commendable, and it's astounding, really, that humans could be brought to such a level of disconnect from each other, from their true selves, from harmony, inner and outer, from source. It's really quite amazing that humans could be so far out from that and still manage to carry on, because that's what we're doing here, or us plus the sleepers. It's a very bad situation as far as being connected. Very bad. But we adapt. I mean, if you look at me in particular, the stuff I do every day, as far as money grubbing, I mean, it's, I don't have too much to compare it to, but I was able to adapt to it, and it doesn't cause me stress anymore. But I'm in the car all the time, driving around strangers and getting numbers in the bank to jump around, which in and of itself is a ridiculous concept, but It just shows how adaptable we are. And being adaptable is also a curse at the same time as it's a blessing, because then we can be taken advantage of quite easily because we can adapt to everything. You know, put us in this type of prison, fine, we'll make a nice little house there and set up a TV and whatnot. Are you gonna put us in that type of prison? Cool, we'll just make sure we have our cigarettes. You know? Just make sure I have my television shows and Twinkies, popcorn. So we're very adaptable. But at the same time, if you just take a moment to think about the possibilities here in this place, regardless of the negative aspects of the realm, if you think of the possibilities of what could be going on here, in the general scene even if just out in the street, how people are behaving, how they're walking, how they're driving their cars, what type of clothes they're wearing, how much energy is coming out of their bodies as they're walking. Is any energy coming out of their bodies as they're walking? Is anybody being animated? If you look at the robotic nature of the movements of the realm, and I'm talking about including the people, sleeper or not sleeper, doesn't matter. And then if you contrast that with what you feel inside as far as creativity is concerned, the gap it's immeasurable. Which in itself creates another it creates another mental fracture, really, because you're forced to deal with the feelings inside that say, I should be connected with people and we should be talking about what's going on here, and then putting that right next to the next observation, which is that we're not connected, we're not organic, and we're not talking to each other about it. At least most people aren't. Then you have some sort of a mental break or a disassociation, so you can continue on in the realm without going crazy. So anyway, start thinking about how humans should be living. How should they interact with each other? If not this way, well then what way? If not, go and sit at a desk all day long and create numbers in a computer that say you're allowed to live somewhere and that say you're allowed to eat. If not that, then what? At a certain point, we have to recreate the thing. Once everybody's done projecting and blaming, then, and they realize that they're the players, Mr. Robot Congressman isn't going to get it done. You got to do it. So that's your homework. That's your homework for the day or for the night. If not this, then what? And the then what part, that's where you can be creative. It's your life.